Well, it's 2 p.m. I think we can start, right? I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity of discussion and for being here for the presentations as well. We'll first show you the videos, and then you can use the chat to ask any questions you may have. And after that, Viviane will conduct the Q&A, okay? I'm gonna put the video and you let me know if you can hear it, if the sound is okay.
Good day to all of you. I am Jessica Cunha, a doctoral student at UNESP under the supervision of Dr. Suzy Cavallari in São José do Rio Preto, Brazil.
And I am Laura Rampazzo, also a doctoral student at UNESP under the supervision of Dr. Solange Aranha, and a teacher at the Federal Institute in São Paulo, Brazil.
In this presentation, we focus on the themes of research articles published between 2006 and 2020 on the project Teletandem Brasil. First, I am going to introduce the topic and explain the reasons why we carried out this analysis. After that, I will explain the methods we used to collect and analyze the data. Then, I will give the floor to Laura, as she will present and discuss our findings and describe the limitations to our investigation. Our study was motivated by the fact that, although there is a great amount of research published on the Teletandem Brasil project, there are not, to the best of our knowledge, any compilations of these studies, organizing them in a synthetic overview. Yet, such a synthesis could prove useful for researchers interested in the project, so that they could be informed of which topics have been explored in the scope of Teletandem Brasil and which ones still need further investigation. Therefore, our objective in this presentation is to provide an outline of the topics that have been studied in the scope of Teletandem Brasil and published in the form of research articles from 2006 to 2020. We selected the research article as the genre of our analysis because it is considered the most privileged academic genre. That is, it is the most effective way to reach the scientific community. Data for this investigation consists of 58 research articles on Teletandem. In order to collect them, first, we listed all the publications available at the website teletandembrasil.org under the tab Publications. To make sure that this list was updated, we also conducted a search of the word Teletandem in Web of Science, a scientific citation indexing service, and included the articles that mentioned Teletandem either on the title, the abstract, or the keywords. We selected all articles that referred to the Teletandem Brasil theoretical framework and described a university context of telecollaboration between Brazil and a foreign country. The analysis consisted of reading the titles, keywords, and abstracts of each article and defining a main theme. The two researchers participated in this blind analysis and then compared their interpretations. The inter-rater reliability coefficient was 86%.
The analysis of the abstracts led to the identification of 8 thematic areas of investigation, as depicted in the tables: assessment, teacher education, context description, mediation, learning in Teletandem, genre, culture, and research data bank. The majority of the articles, 14 out of 58, were concerned with learning in teletunding, either focusing on students' learning processes, learning beliefs, resources used by participants, or episodes that focus on form. As illustrated in the picture, themes often merge into one another. In articles on culture, the second most explored theme, for instance, may also consider the implications for teacher education or for mediation. Articles about culture center on beliefs and conceptions about culture, stereotypes, identity, the cultural component, intercultural competence, and social roles. Out of the 10 studies that describe the context, 2 present the proposal of teletunding, 2 focus on the institutional integrated modality, 1 on the levels of integration, 2 on the teacher's role, and 1 on the logistics of the practice. Given the length of this presentation, we're not going to explain in detail all the areas, but we are open to any questions that you may have later. Our results indicate that research on telecollaboration, specifically on teletunding, tends to cover more than just one thematic area. That is, there are often multiple overlapping themes in the same article. Despite the fact that international publications do not often include reviews on teletunding, probably because the majority of publications are in Portuguese, 34 out of 58, the present investigation demonstrates that there is vast published research on telecollaboration from South America on partnerships between Brazil and institutions abroad. Finally, we may argue that the project Teletunding Brasil is a fruitful context for the investigation of different aspects related to the telecollaboration practices, which suggests the complexity of such context. Regarding the limitations of this study, we point the fact that data collection methods did not return all published research on the project, probably either because articles were not listed in the website by the time we conducted our study, or because they were published in journals not indexed in Web of Science. Also, analysis focused only on one genre, the research article. Further research could discuss other aspects of the publications, as well as investigate other genres. Here are the references of our study, and we thank you for your time and interest. I will now share the second presentation. Can you see it?
Hello, everybody. My name is Tomás Costa. I am a graduating student of Modern Languages at Universidade Regional do Cariri, URCA, in Brazil. I am going to present a work named Pedagogical Residency, PIBID, and Teletunding as Third Spaces, which was made in collaboration with Ludmila Funo and Hermeson Bezerra. So, to start to explain our work, I'm gonna talk about a study organized by British Council in 2017 that shows that the English language discipline is treated as a complementary subject in public education because schools want to reduce the workload that they have in relation to other curricular subjects or to replace it for other school activities. In this context, we can see the importance of educational programs that offer a formative experience to the undergraduate student that brings together both theory and practice, promoting a hybrid space. It is in this third space, according to Zashner in 2010, that a bridge is created between theory and practice. From now on, PIBID, pedagogical residency, and teletunding programs are considered as third spaces. Now I'm going to talk about a little of each program. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Institutional Teaching Initiation Scholarship Program, known as PIBID, that aims to assist the initial training of teachers, involving the participation of students from the first half of the course. and promotes an articulation between public schools of basic education and high school institutions, uniting theory with the classroom practice. The pedagogical residence program aims to improve the training of students from the second half of the course as future teachers, and it is part of the National Teacher Training Policy and was installed at Universidade Regional do Cariri and operates in Crato, Ceará. The Teletandem URCA program, 2018, derives from another one called Teletandem Brazil Program, Languages for All, by Teles, 2006, as a partnership between URCA and UNESP. Through UNESP, a partnership was signed with Georgetown University in 2018. Through this contest, our work seeks to reflect on the importance of these programs for training English-speaking teachers in third spaces. To achieve our goal, we use a bibliographic research on the concept of third space, as well as its application within the PBIT scenario, using the works of Zashner 2010 and Dos Santos Felício 2014. Besides, we count on a discussion of the third space based on an experience report from a PBIT scholarship holder who is also a Teletandem mediator, and mediators and supervisors in a pedagogical residency coordinator's notes. The concept of third space that we are talking about here arises from the theory of Barrabás, 1990, whose target is on cultural hybridism. Thus, Zashner 2010 recovers the concept aiming the rejection of binary thinking, which separates theory and practice, university and school. In that case, the third space is a frontier that connects these words. Within this line of investigation, we realize how PBIT and pedagogical residence programs link university to school as boulders, and how the Teletandem program presents itself as a new context for this discussion. Pedagogical residence established itself in that case as a third training space, and it seeks to intensify the supervised internship, reformulating it in a full experience of the resident at school. PBIT, in turn, is included in the third space because it is recognized as a public policy that trains teachers in the initial career process, breaking the duality that we saw before between theory and practice. Teletandem, on the other hand, presents itself as a diverse frontier, not necessarily between university and school, but between university and world, because in that case, it breaks the geographical and cultural distance. Therefore, we can observe that programs such as PBIT, pedagogical residency, and Teletandem have great relevance for the education of students, since theory and practice, school and university links are established, which interferes in a good professional qualification teaching area. That's it. I hope you liked my presentation. Thank you.
I will now share our last presentation.
Hello everybody, my name is Giovana Victoria Santana Oliveira and I'm a student of Modern Languages at Universidade Regional do Cariri, URCA. And I'm going to present you a work called Portuguese as a Foreign Language in Teletandem, the teaching learning process, which was made with the collaboration of the professors Ludmila Belotti Andreu Funo and Guilherme Mariano Martins da Silva. The objective of this work is to ponder about the teaching learning process of Portuguese as a foreign language, having as a horizon the social interactionist perspective of Vygotsky, 1998. And we are also going to present you a report from an interactionist and mediator about the teaching learning telecollaborative practice of languages in Teletandem, of Teles, 2006. The methodology we used, as well as the data collection instruments, will consist of the student mediator reports that were created after each interaction session in Teletandem, and we're going to approach them with a qualitative perspective of Moita Lopes, 1996. The theoretical fundamentation we used were from the authors Hurtoso, 2000, Nóbrega, 2010, Messias, Ramos, and Carvalho, 2013, and Ramos, 2012. They were used in order to seek concepts of teaching and learning of Portuguese as a foreign language and the teletandem practice. Then, as a result to this research, we raised the question of what makes the teaching and learning of Portuguese as a foreign language possible in teletandem right now. What makes it possible is the loss of the affective future. And what's the affective future? The affective future is what prevents the students from learning new languages. And why this happens? This happens because the students are afraid to talk to a camera and to talk to someone in another language. So in order to understand why this happens and how to break this affective future, we analyzed the sessions and we looked to the strategies that the students make to break this affective future. So analyzing the data, it reveals the strategies are from the types. Metacognitive, that is related to the different strategies of the students during the sessions to clarify the examples. So how does this happen? My partner does not understand me. So I'm going to show him an audio, a magazine, a video to make my explanation clearer. So we have the cognitive related to the understanding of informations and also to be understood. Also related to what we talked before, to the metacognitive, so we can be clearer to our explanations. And the social and social affective that allows the students to learn through an interaction. So the interaction in teletandem. So we can see the gradual autonomy of the intelligence in teletandem happen because they are going to seek two strategies to make the partner and themselves comfortable in the teletandem session. So as a result to this, we can also realize that the teletandem does not take the teacher's place in the classroom. It will help the teachers to conduct their own reflections and to give them new methodology of work. Why is that? Because the teacher now can see that the affective future can be broken and they can do this inside the classroom. Understanding because it's hard to their students to have a conversation with someone, so they are going to help with it. Here I show you guys a report, two parts of the report that I made with my American partner. In the third session of teletandem, me and my partner explored the diversity of Brazilian and American vocabulary, helping with the difficulties and encouraging each other with the pronunciation problems. This is what I've looked to break my affective future, encouraging my partner and looking for vocabulary so I could talk and help my partner to talk in the Portuguese vocabulary. So it's easier for us both to talk and to break the affective future. In the last session of teletandem, my partner asked about cultural aspects, food, dances, and without difficulties of communication. So here was her way to break the affective future. So we could talk non-stop for 1 hour in the session, because it's easier for us to look to magazines, to see videos, to look to vocabulary. So our affective future is already broken. And now as a mediator, I can help my partners and the others to understand how to break this affective future so they can talk to a camera, talk to their partners in teletandem sessions easily right now. So as a conclusion to this, from my perspective, I raised the hypothesis that there were positive changes in teaching learning through the teletandem, giving the autonomy of the intelligence. And it can be realized then that this methodology has to add up with the teaching in the classroom, improving the reflection of Portuguese as a foreign language. As I said before, the teacher now can understand the student's side. because they get nervous, and now they can understand how to break this affected future and help their partner in teletandem or in the classroom to talk easily right now, because the affected future can be broken in many ways, and the teletandem will help with that. That's it. I hope you liked my presentation.
Thank you for watching and thank you for presenting. And then I thank myself as well. I will now pass it to Viviane to conduct the Q&A. You can ask your questions in the chat, or you can open your microphones and ask them.
Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you to all the presenters. I already have some questions in here, but feel free to keep typing them, as Laura mentioned, through this chat, or you can also jump in the conversation at any moment. So I will follow the order of presentations for the questions. And the first question goes to Laura and Jessica. And the question is, what do they expect will be the themes in future articles on teletandem? Will new themes and areas of focus emerge?
Would you like to answer, Laura, or should I?
Go ahead.
In our analysis, we noticed that the least frequent themes, which were, let me check, genres and the research data bank, were also the most recent ones from 2018 and 2019. So we think these are emerging themes, really, like you said. They have just begun to make way into research on teletandem, and we think they have potential to grow.
Mm-hmm. Another question by Ana Cristina Salomon is if this research presented by you is already published.
It isn't, but we have submitted an article about it, so we hope it will soon.
Mm-hmm. And then third question also about this presentation is, could you share a little bit more of what the most interesting results, so what the thematic analysis revealed that you found interesting?
What do you think, Laura? Most interesting results? I think the methodology was kind of challenging for us because of the amount of converging themes. I mean, we found a lot of articles that did not cover only one topic. They covered 2 or 3, and it was hard for us and challenging to decide which was the most relevant topic in each article. Mm-hmm. But it's also led us to conclude that the teletandem context is actually a complex context, and that it, well, it will be approached from multiple perspectives, even in one article. I think that was the most interesting part for me. Do you agree, Laura?
Yeah, I agree. It was hard to tell, like with teacher education and culture, articles were often about these 2 topics. And also, I think, I don't know, there's a political stance to our presentation too, because I feel that, I mean, I'm just starting, but there's a lot of publication from us in Brazil, and we are not much cited abroad. And I think one of the reasons is because we publish in Portuguese, but also I think it might contribute to saying, hey, we exist, we're here, we're doing research, and there's a lot of research published. I mean, I think that's it.
Yes, and in our data, sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
In our data, we used 58 articles, and 34 of them were in Portuguese and 24 were in English. There were more in Portuguese, around 59%, but 41% were in English. So I don't think that's the whole reason why we are not usually cited abroad, because we have vast research and a considerable amount of it is published in English as well.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions or comments for presenters?
I would like to make a comment. It just crossed my mind that, for example, in today's first presentation, the conference, teletandem is mentioned through not Brazilian researchers, but through Capellini, who is fantastic and who has been with us forever. But that's how other people who study teletandem appear, and they get more room in the international community. Maybe we should think why this is so, because as Jessica said, we have a large amount of publication in English, so that's probably not only the language. The problem is not only the language. This is the first thing. And the second thing I would like to mention is that maybe you should include these works, not only the ones that are on the website, because they are related to the Brazilian researchers, but also Capellini, who studies a lot of teletandem, Paula Leone, and Annelise, other people who are Michael Ferreira, who study teletandem. And unfortunately, they are not on our website because our net is not that strong. We should have a stronger net in the project to get all the works related to teletandem in the same website. It's Anna is making an enormous effort for that. Yeah, thank you. Anna is making an enormous effort for that, but still many researchers working with teletandem are missing on our website. Right, that's just 2 comments. And congrats both for the research.
Thank you, Solange. I'll move on to the second group, but you're welcome to come back with questions and keep sending questions on the chat or speaking as you're doing. So the questions for Thomas, Emerson, and Ludmila. I'll combine the 2 questions that you received. So the first one is, can you say something more about third space? We were not really totally clear on the practicality of what happened. So can you share a little bit more of the project? So if we understood correctly, is teletandem used in a third space for pedagogical residency? And then the second question is how the PBID residency program at teletandem integrated. How are these, PBID, residency program, and teletandem, these 3 things integrated in practical terms?
So, hello, first of all, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It's the first presentation that I gave in English, so it's a challenge for me. So, it's a good question because, first of all, when I was trying to start this work with my colleagues, we were thinking about how to integrate programs that are very common here in Brazil with teletandem. That is also Brazilian in that case. So we started to search some points, and at the time that I started to work, I didn't know what was a third space. I didn't know the meaning of it. So I started to think about it and talk to some people. Okay, so I work as a PBID scholarship holder. So I was one of them, and it was a pleasure to be a member. And I started to think, okay, so here in teletandem, we have the possibility to dialogue with different people from different places. And we don't need to travel, for example, as I told the barrier that we have. So I started to think, well, and we saw that sometimes when we are acting in some schools, specifically public schools, we saw we have a lot of theory sometimes, and the practice. Where comes the practice? So we started to think about it. And the same, we have the pedagogical residency program. We have the theory. And we thought about, we could unite these programs with teletuning because the students see the grammar, the vocabulary, okay? But they don't have the chance to practice this with different people. So we started to think about this work as a third space, the concept of Bahaba in that case. And we thought it was amazing to start a work like that. And for me, it was totally new because I didn't know the concept, as I said before. And now we can make links between these programs. So for example, I'm reading here the comment. Okay, thank you, Professor. So we start to think about them like not just different programs, but like a web, I can say this way. Okay, can I ask anyone what PBD stands for? Okay, PBD, people always ask me, what is PBD, okay? I also separated here some things, some ideas in my mind. So PBD is a program, is a Brazilian program, very, very famous in Brazil, okay? That train people to be future teachers since the beginning of the graduation. So it's a big challenge, first of all. Because when I started PBD, for example, I was in the second semester. I was a teacher. I started to teach English when I was 17 years old. But for me, it was a new reality because, for example, I have never been before in a public school. And it is a different context because I've worked in private schools. It's different. So PBD works with that. It's like to affirm, and we need to make sure if you really want to be a teacher. That's the purpose of it. And also integrate us, like students, to the real place where we're going to work in the future. So that is PBD, okay? That's the reason why it exists. Pedagogical residence is basically the same, but with a little difference. Pedagogical residence starts when we are in the middle of the course, right? So the students already had some situations like practice, but now it's a little different because we always have a contest to put more practice. And some people get confused because some courses here to train teachers, we have to pay this attention to practice. But with pedagogical residency, we have scholarships. It's a little different, okay? So that's basically the difference. And we decided to establish a bridge between these programs and teletuning, because as you know, teletuning has the possibility to be used in public schools with students. So it's amazing, okay? Yes, that's the translation, Institutional Scholarship Program for New Teachers. That's it, okay? I hope I have answered the question. If you have any question, you can ask me, don't worry.
You did, thank you so much. Do we have any new questions? So I see that Solange and Paola are talking to Laura and Jessica, but they're responding to them via the chat. A question for the third presenters, and let me just open it here for a second. So Giovanna, Ludmila, and Guilherme is, so after they break the affective filter, are there any other things that make it challenging for them to speak and to participate in the interactions?
Sometimes, yes. Everyone, first of all, it is a bit challenging because they're afraid not even to talk, as I said before, but to look at the camera because everyone gets shy at first. Even I did get shy at first because I didn't even talk to someone of the United States or to someone in Brazil. So it was challenging even for me before being a mediator, but breaking this affective filter, talking to someone and showing them how to interact with each other, we like being friends after all in the end of the mediation. So it wasn't so difficult for anyone. I haven't known for mediators, me and my colleagues. I asked for them if there was any difficulties, but I didn't receive any difficulties like other than the affective future, like being broken after that. And we got comfortable with each other. So was really grateful to listen of them to, like, they said, hey, yeah, how couldn't I know of the teletandem, because it was amazing, like talking to each other, making meetings we always make meetings, and that's something that I would like to tell, because we always make meetings to understand the difficulties, if there is any difficulties during these interactions, so we can help them, we can help the teachers, and we can help us, we can help the colleagues to understand how to go on with these conversations without difficulties at all.
Great, thank you, Giovanna.
You're welcome.
We have a few more minutes. Actually, we have plenty of time if you want to engage in conversation, if you want to send more questions.
I would like to engage in conversation.
Let's do it, Michael.
So just a quick question. It's just, I just have a feel for this because that was one of the, I was just going to mention to Laura and Jessica's presentation, which was very good. Thank you. That one of my first comments was when we started working together was that we had to publish something in English. You know, we had to start coming out with papers in English. But the general feel, and you guys probably have a better feel for this than I do, the general feel I have is that most of the English papers that have been published are more recent than the Brazilian ones, right? The Portuguese ones, right? So I have a feeling that after INFLIT, there was an increase in publications in English. And well, there were two INFLITs, right? So after INFLIT, and that was, the first one was in 2014. Does that sound right, Leila? Yeah, Liza? So I think that now it's on the right path. We're starting to get a better balance between the Portuguese and the English, and I'm sure we'll get over this under recognition. A few years ago, actually, Joe Cunningham was in Ireland for an event that Robert O'Dowd put together on telecollaboration, and there was a shout out to Teletandem Brazil. They actually mentioned Teletandem Brazil in the opening and the closing ceremony. So I think the world is also aware that they didn't pay as much as attention initially as they should have, because the abstracts for all the dissertations and all the articles on the Teletandem site, they're in English and in Portuguese, as they should be. And so there was access to it. It was just a matter of delving a little deeper, you know. So that was just my 2 cents on that, and congratulations on the work.
May I just maybe, I mean, go a little bit further. I was at IVAC 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. Anna was too, I think. Only Anna here in this. Laura was too. And many of them, we engaged in many discussions, and many people said, well, we've been doing telecollaboration for many years, like 5. And then I said, excuse me, hello, we've been doing this since 2006. So this unbalance of recognition is something that we should work on. Because people from Europe, especially from Europe, they would say, well, since 2010, we've been doing this, as if it were the longest time ever, right? And we have results from 2006, 2007, 2008. So I think Michael is completely right. And we should keep emphasizing that we've been doing this since 2006. Yeah, and you also have many students joining the program, which is true, right? We have a large number of students who benefit from the project, not only in Brazil, but in the partner institutions as well. So this is
I just like to add to that here at Georgetown for the first time we actually have a doctoral student that is producing a doctoral dissertation using Teletandem, and she was actually the first of the Georgetown students to go to Assis, sponsored by UNESP, right? She got a 3-month stipend to be able to do research in Assis, and met the whole team over there, Leah Adelson. She's actually responsible for our website today. And so that also shows that, because part of the problem is there's also from my end is that I'm competing with 6 other linguists in my department, right? And so, you know, when you compare the production of PhD students at UNESP surrounding this team and abroad, it's a different view, right? And so Leah's the first one. Before her, we've had 2 students that did their master's qualifying papers using Teletandem, and we've had panel presentations at the AATSP, the American Association of Teachers of Spanish and Portuguese, as well as the American Association of Applied Linguistics. So there's been movement on this side, but it's hard to keep it stable when you have not a small, I mean, we have 50 graduate students, but relatively when you're talking about who each graduate student's going to work with, if they're going to do phonology or syntax or, you know, applied linguistics, et cetera. So I'm still hoping that Leah is the student that's going to get people excited about this type of research, because one of the things we haven't talked about yet is, you know, somebody said today, Teletandem is very complex, right? It's very complex. It's not easy to describe. Sometimes it's not easy to describe, right? Well, it is, because you got audio, video, you got pragmatics, you got all this. So a lot of people shied away from this type of research for a long, long time. And the only way to really get it through is with projects like the corpus that Solange and Paula and Susie are putting together, the corpus we have here at Georgetown, and teams working on it, right? And so that's where the network that Solange mentioned earlier, I think, is going to be essential for the next wave of articles and the next wave of dissertations and so on. Sorry, I interrupted Ana Cristina.
Oh no, it's okay. I was just going to comment that I agreed with Solange when she mentioned that people don't talk about Teletandem, or maybe they talk about Teletandem, but not using our research, the research from Brazil. And then I remember that Jessica mentioned that around 55% of the articles they used in the research were written in English, but I also think we have to consider where were these articles published. So what kind of visibility are we giving to the project? Not only, I'm not saying it's our fault, but we have to analyze what we have been doing and think about how we could show, yes, everything we have done over the past 14 years, yes, just as for us to reflect on.
Mm-hmm. To add to that, when Michael talks about the corpus, so in addition to all the interactions, the diaries, the questionnaires, one of the biggest resources that I feel studying Teletandem from overseas, one of the biggest resources that UNESP has is all the amount of research done on Teletandem, so all the masters and PhD dissertations and theses. And all of those documents are available on the internet. They are on the UNESP library, but they are in Portuguese. They do have the abstracts in English, so maybe it should be a really important work to conduct a thematic analysis of the dissertations and the theses, and try to work with the different UNESP's campuses, because you also focus on, in my understanding, on different things. So for example, some groups may focus more on mediation and other groups may be on the interactions.
About what you said, Viviane, in our article, even in the end, we suggest this research be done, this look on the theses and dissertations. We decided on the research article, as we said, because it's it's a scientific text that reaches people, more people. It's smaller and more accessible, but theses and dissertations should definitely be analyzed as well, because we have a huge amount of research in that form published on Teletandem as well.
Typically, here in the U.S. anyway, people that finish their dissertations, they either move towards a book or publish it in separate articles. And that, I mean, that would be a great way to go if the dissertation's in Portuguese to satisfy, whatever rules are in place, to be able to follow up with that and publish articles in English to disseminate the research. The other thing we haven't talked about is that in applied linguistics, we have the interaction is sort of the centerpiece that splits the psycholinguistic analysis and the cultural studies analysis, right? And so that's another issue that I think that should be worked on. That we see both sides of the mirror. Let's put it that way, right? See both sides of the mirror, because I think they actually help to explain one another in certain ways. So I don't know. Like I said in the chat, we should be more strategic about it, and we should see each other more. And maybe now is the opportunity, since we've gotten to be on Zoom, right? Now everybody's comfortable with Zoom, so this might be a good opportunity to get everybody together more frequently.
This is something that I'm curious about, and if we have time, and if it's possible, I would like to hear a little bit more about the impact of Teletandem in your education process. I mean, the question can be answered by anyone else. It's just something that I'm interested about now in research.
Maisa, I've looked at this on my work, and I talked about the teachers inside the classroom because it impacted me as a student to be a teacher, because I've never looked to a camera or teach someone anything before, like even Portuguese. I've never thought, as I said to Professor Guilherme, that I was able to teach. Even my mom being a teacher or anything, everybody in my family is kind of a teacher. So I never had the experience before. So the Teletandem gave me this, and it is part of the education process for me internally and being inside of a classroom, because it helped me to teach things, or rather than Portuguese, even other languages I was trying to learn and teach to someone. It was easier for me. So impact my mother, because I teach her like, Mom, you could use these, you could use this platform, you could use these to teach your students. So because the Teletandem showed me other ways to teach and to show other things to be available inside of the classroom or inside of any room that you want to teach something, because it impacts really hard in the process of education, of teaching anything, because I've realized that inside of Teletandem since the beginning. So right now, being a mediator, I can help, as I said before, the people who are coming to Teletandem how to break being nervous to talk to someone or teaching something, because I entered to my mom's classroom because she needed me to be a substitute for a little bit of time. and I was like, God, I can't teach anything. But being in teletandem, I came to the classroom like, now I can teach something. I'm totally secure of myself talking in English because she's an English teacher as well. And I was like, okay, the teletandem broke my affective future, broke my I was shy, like I was like totally shy to talk to someone, so I couldn't pass any content forward, you know. So the teletandem can and totally will break these difficulties during the process of education. So it was really important to me and to watch this process of education happening easily right now for me, or that I want to talk about this right now.
Thank you,
I think
Giovanna.
that's it.
Thank you. We have another great question here to be asked. Going back to the publication conversation that we had in just a minute ago. So, could the problem of teletandem research visibility be masked by the terminological choices that each country region makes? So, teletandem, telecollaboration, virtual exchange, COIL.
I think so. I and Laura, we thought so. And well, we based our criteria on the teletandem framework. So we selected articles that mentioned teles as a basis to define what teletandem is, and the 3 principles that we follow: the separation of languages, autonomy, and now I forgot the other one.
Reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Thank you. So we looked for that, and that word teletandem, because I think it's very hard to determine if a telecollaboration is the same as teletandem. I think it's a broader term. So we followed teletandem as the key word for our compilation of articles. And we think there may be works that just say telecollaboration and follow the same principles, but it's hard to tell. And I think it's definitely a problem for us to compile the research and group it.
And also, because we had to narrow our corpus, we kind of excluded anything that didn't mention teletandem. Solange and I have an article, for instance, and we did not use teletandem in the, I don't think I have mentioned that to her yet, but we don't mention it in the title, we don't mention it in the abstract or the keywords. So we did not consider it in the analysis because we had to define some criteria. So.
Yeah, but it somehow gives an impression that we did less than we actually did. Because all these constraints that do not consider other works on teletandem, just if you publish this, it's going to say, well, we have 14 papers on language learning, but maybe we have many more. See?
Yes,
That's
we mentioned that as one of the limitations that we followed because we wanted to have criteria. We were afraid as we were reading the articles that we were being too open at first, maybe considering too many things, and we were getting kind of lost. So we decided in the end to follow these criteria strictly. And then, well, we came up with that.
I think a downside of limiting the word teletandem to the title, abstract, and keywords is that when you publish in a journal, you are so limited to the amount of information that you can add on those 3 pieces. So usually you can add only 3 keywords, and you want to be strategic about the keywords that you're going to put on your paper, right, depending on where you're publishing it. So maybe, as the example that you just gave, Laura, your work with Solange, the macro context was telecollaboration, and then you talked about teletandem in the paper.
I don't know if I can, but I'd like to change subject. I loved your paper, girls. I told you I told you privately. I really liked it, and I understand the criteria you used and all. But I'd like to talk a little bit about what Tomas's presentation, also Giovanna, because they are, as far as I could understand, they are talking about teletandem in high schools in a different context. Not yours, Guilherme, but Tomas's paper maybe.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Okay. So I got it right. Tomas, so maybe I'd like, when I asked how you integrated, the question about the integration in practical terms, is because are you actually implementing teletandem in high schools?
No, it's a project that we have to implement at schools here in Juazeiro, Crato, and Barbalha. It's an idea that we have. We are planning to do that, to achieve that goal, because we want to bring something new to the classroom. So we always see, for example, people teaching grammar and sometimes vocabulary, but the practice. And sometimes one student asked me, so Tomas, you are learning English, but for what? For example, we always listen to questions like that. I won't go to the US, it's the classical one. And I always think, I said, no, we have a program at URCA called Teletandem, and I explained all the contents. They said, oh, that's great. So would you come with this idea to college? I said, okay, I'm gonna think about it. So we are trying to organize, okay, but it's nothing official. It's just an idea. Okay?
All right. Okay.
It's just to think about all the things before implement the program. It's just an idea that we have before because it's something new to put in public schools, but that's it.
Okay. All right. That was not clear to me. So you were you were proposing, but you have not implemented yet.
No,
okay.
no. We didn't have the chance to implement it.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just to follow up on the high school, when João was here implementing helping implement the practice of teletandem in the modern languages in 2014-15, we visited a high school here, and we actually were able to do one session with the students with Mexico, and the students loved it. But when we get to high school here in the States, a lot of paperwork's involved. The teachers have to be on board, the administrators have to be on board, and principally the parents have to be on board. They have to sign waivers that they're okay with it and all that. I know that there were rumors of a Teletandem Junior coming about, but I don't know if that actually took any direction. It was a dream for a while, and I was all for it because I have one kid in high school right now and two quickly approaching it. So for me, I thought that would be a great way to do it. So if anybody else decides to work on these issues, I'm guessing it's not just here in the States, everywhere we're going to run into administrators, professors, or teachers, instructors, and parents principally, right? I'd be happy to participate in some sort of ad hoc committee that would look at these in different areas.
I think I have a question. Do I have time?
Yes.
I'd like to comment too, if I can, sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
Sorry. No, it's because we are not going to the high school. there's a misunderstanding in that. We were talking with the teachers that actually lecture at the language center here at Juazeiro to high school students. So we would offer a course for them in teletandem, specifically teletandem in Spanish and in English, right? So myself, I don't know. We're not going to the high school yet, at least. So probably there's a misunderstanding in that. What we have, however, is that we have the 3 programs here. We have the training program of Residência Pedagógica, we have the PVID, and we have teletandem. And the connection that I understood from Tomás when we discussed his article itself was that we were working that both, these 3 programs, though different programs, they both are third spaces, as we understand from Baba, right? If you get the third space in culture, but now thinking as Feitosa is thinking the third space as the space where practice and theory connects. So it's neither the school and neither the work, but it's an intermediate location. So they are not necessarily connected. We're not going doing a teletandem in PBH, for instance, with the inside the school or with the residency. We are working on a theoretical connection, not a practical one. So I had understood it as well, Susie, and I was so sorry.
Yes, sorry. Yes, it was just the hypothetical idea that we had. But it's a good idea. If you can do it in a different place, it would be a great idea because it's a chance to bring something new for the students. Yes, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Guilherme. Leila, you had a question?
Yes. No, I was wondering, maybe more for the teachers that work here in the US. Do you have in your institution, for example, different languages and different programs like that have different names that follow another set of ideas about telecollaboration, and or not, or you for example, here at UM we have the Spanish program that's very big, that does like a they call it a VIP. But it's so different from teletandem because it's just the students sit there. They have two sessions in the semester, and they have like questions. It's that they have to ask, and the other student has to answer. So that is so mechanical. There's nothing happens between the partners, you know. It's not a real interaction that they talk and they get to know each other and chat, and so they just follow this set of questions, and then when they have just 2 sessions and they start the most basic level at 101, and so that person is there, they just ask the questions, the other one answers, and that's it. So for me, that's not real interaction, you know. It's not that's not an interaction. And then the second session, the students are different. So so I guess I just was wondering if you have other languages in your institutions doing different things, or not, or, and if you...
So that's actually something I wanted Joe to address, but you know, what he did was excellent, right? But German follows a strict notion in their telecollaboration practice of task-based learning exercises.
Okay.
So they follow that theoretical approach for it, which kind of goes against the autonomy that we do. And you see that Joe understands the autonomy as he cited today, right? He's very, he's in with that program. But they, in the German department, they work mostly with task-based learning. So that would be a good person to ask. He and his colleague in the German department, Maria Bankova, both do that. So that's just one idea.
No, it's just that it's hard, you know, to because I think the people think that teletunding is just like another VIP, you know, another, you know, that they put the questions there and they, you know, ask and answer, and then there's no real communication, there's no emotion there. So and it's very hard to you know, when the programs are very big, like usually the Spanish programs are big, right? They have lots of students. I know it's harder. It's more, and this program is very controlled, you know, like I don't know, but sometimes I feel that it's hard to communicate like with you with the German department that's so different, you know, convince them of one thing or the other. But because Portuguese is small here at UM, then so now we are having, you know, some issues because because the lab, you know, is in charge of all the projects in all the languages, and so so it's kind of they set up some constraints for us, you know. We leave the two students speaking, right? So so just wondering if you know, if you have a similar problem or not.
What we've been doing here is we've been selecting randomly the recordings and putting them on 2-speed to sort of cut the time in half, right? And we give them feedback using an Excel sheet with the common things to look over, and then they can go on to Canvas or to some app where they work on specific exercises designed to address seria está, por y para, things like that, you know, that we put together. That's something new that we've been doing, and the students seem to like it because much more of this is happening outside of the lab now. We used to have a Teletandem class that was in the lab, but you know, with everything that's going on, we sort of abandoned the lab altogether, and that's how we've been giving them feedback and having mediation sessions and all that.
And who watches the recordings?
So yeah, so I do for my class, and then so each instructor does it for their class. But the instructors sort of work together to have a benchmark, you know, of what standard, right? So that it goes across classes where people can refer to the same feedback.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Oh, no problem.
Leila, as you may know, at the University of Georgia, only Portuguese does teletending, and we are very fortunate to work with Solange and Susie and the team in São José do Rio Preto, because we have teletending integrated to the language classroom. I know Russian do something else. I'm not sure if it's telecollaboration, and I have heard that some people in the Spanish program were also considering some type of interactions. But as you said, there are so many options that are not really integrated and interactive and the same person, so you build a relationship, a partnership throughout the semester, just more isolated like the VIP program. So I'm not sure what they are using, but I'm sure more programs are interested in doing some type of immersion, let's say gaming, active learning, but teletending requires some work, requires a lab, requires preparation, so that role of the mediator. We tried to pilot it in K-12 high schools. In high schools here in Georgia, we know the teachers of Portuguese in the States, and we have a close relationship with them. But as Michael mentioned earlier, there are so many barriers in addition to the computer, having the computer lab reserved for you, and then headsets and computers. You should have to have consent forms from parents and then administration. So it's just harder to get them to be interested in starting telecollaborative projects.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. If does anyone have any questions? We have 4 more minutes. If you want to have maybe one more question or comment to the presenters.
Maisa, maybe I can answer your question about the impact of teletunding. As I said, I was a student. I was on the other side. I was a student at Assis, and in my first year of undergraduate, I participated in teletunding, and it was then that I realized I could speak English. And that was really important for me. My first teletunding partner and I still talk once in a while. And yeah, it's been 10 years now. And once I started researching about it, I think I got even more, I'm not sure what word to use, but like, you know, I was enchanted, I guess. I don't know if I can say that. I really enjoy it, and I think it can really make a difference, as it did for me. I didn't do any research when I was an undergraduate student. I didn't do any project on teletunding, but it really changed things for me. Like, it gave me confidence, as I think Giovanna said that, right? Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for your comment. It's very interesting.
All right, so thank you everybody. Laura and I were really happy to host this session, and we appreciate your time, and we'll stay here, but if you want to leave and prepare for the next session, feel free to do so. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.